Hey, hey.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Hello, Alessio. How are you?
Hello, hello. Hey, guys. What's up?
Hi.
How you doing? Hey, hi. What's up? Nice to see you. Well, we're gonna give a couple minutes for people to join. Yeah, I can see people jumping in. Hey, Fernando, what's up?
Hi, Alessio.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Alessio.
We're gonna test this time if actually this new arrangement at 5 UTC works better. We used to do it a couple of hours before. So let's see. Gonna give it a couple of more minutes to see. In the same time, actually gonna share something I thought it was pretty interesting. The community is growing strong. I know you guys, like I sometimes share this chart. Unfortunately, this one only shows the last 14 days, but it's actually been growing quite consistently for the last few months. So that's pretty good. I'm very happy about it.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's nice. And Fernando, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you have been following us before, but like we have this habit every week to invite, some of the founders of the relevant people like into the DeFi space. We had some great people before from DeFi Score talking about risk assessment of DeFi protocols. And then we had Mona from Melonport. She has been speaking about the recent upgrade into the protocol. Recently, Thomas from the Provable Things P-Tokens team. He has been introducing us about their recent work. It's been pretty fascinating. I'm quite happy to be here. Like to give a little bit of context for everyone, we have been playing around and working on top of Balancer for quite a little bit before the beta came out, and then now we participate into a beta, and then now they finally launched. So I'm very happy to have Fernando over here to explain to the community. We touched briefly on what Balancer is before, but I think it's great that you're gonna explain to everyone.
Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting.
I think we are pretty much there, which is great. This one I'm gonna close. Okay, are we recording yet? Yes, we do. Hello from Tucson, Arizona. Hey there, welcome. All right, guys, let's start this up. So welcome everyone. Today is April the 3rd. This is the 4th community call of the PieDAO community. My name is Alessio Del Monte, and today we have a great guest. I'm gonna start with, as usual. While we wait for some people to actually join the call, we're gonna follow up on our meme competition. As you guys might know already, we have been having a meme competition since a couple of weeks that started on the Pi Day. So 3 weeks ago, we saw some great stuff coming up. We had an early winner already. If you are behind us, like here around us, please say hi. He has been making memes like crazy. And then we're gonna have Fernando Martinelli. He is the CEO of Balancer Labs, which is this great project we've been working on for quite a little bit. And I'm excited to have him speak about Balancer. There is the launch, which is very exciting. Then I'm going to speak a little bit about the progress on BTC++. That's something that if you have been following us, we have been developing the past couple of weeks, and then we went pretty quick on that side of things. And now we have some exciting progress to show that will be followed up with a live demo. Some of you guys might have seen some tweets around. And then finally following that, we're going to have our own Mick explaining us how to use BTC++ in your own smart contract. So to recap the meme competition, that started some time ago. As we explained already a couple of times, there is a prize of 1K DAO tokens which is weekly for each one of for the best meme, and an additional grand prize for the best meme over a month. The rules to qualify are super simple. So if you want to join it, and get your creativity sparkling, just post your meme on Twitter, post it on Discord, DeFi and DAO, and then the calculation are going to be extreme. Like is 1 point, and then 1 like is 0.5 points. So I actually wanted to show some of the great memes that we have seen this week, while we usually have a couple of minutes for people to join. So CryptoToit is trying again on this. I think it's actually very well suited this time. It's a spy for everyone this season. They're like a bit of blasphemy. Love it. And we have some of the memes from John Doe. Let them in Doe. I thought this was pretty great, to be honest. Like this made me laugh quite a lot. Peasants eating losses on the stock market. Let them eat Doe. New Normal, which was our first winner, comes with Age Mutant Ninja Inverse. He says a vote for New Normal is a vote for fibersification. He's been making some great memes recently. I think it's very creative, this guy. So you can see here like the Ninja Turtles, an old graphic from the Ninja Turtles. Now they're thinking about the future. PieDAO is like a mutual fund for mutants. Hey Luke, welcome. Nice to see you here. Give that guy Doe for the meme. Yeah, I mean he's doing great. So PieDAO is like mutual fund for mutants. Love it. And then we have last meme from Doman. He came very close last time, and this guy got a BTC++ dedicated meme. So we have TBTC over here and RenBTC fighting, and then BTC++ dubbing on the side. Great stuff. All right, so without any further ado, I'm gonna leave the word and the mic to Fernando. Again, thanks Fernando for being here. You tell me how do you want to do this. We usually like try to keep this as a conversation. So if someone wants to join and make questions, they can do it either during your presentation or later, whatever that works best for you.
Great. Yeah, anyone who wants to ask any questions can interrupt me at any time, for sure. So I don't have any formal presentation, but I wanted to maybe kind of tell you a little bit about Balancer and show you the UI and how you can interact with it. So Balancer has been kind of created inside Block Science, which is kind of a company that does academic research and modeling and designing for crypto systems and other crypto economics kind of related themes. We've kind of span out of Block Science early last year, and we kind of created our own company because we believe that the idea of Balancer was very powerful and could be could have a lot of potential and attract a lot of liquidity. And for those who don't know what Balancer is in a nutshell, it's kind of a generalization of Uniswap, where you can have pools that have many tokens, so not only 2 like Uniswap, and any weights or percentage of value for each token that you want. So you can have a basket of let's say up to 8 tokens. Actually, we have this initial kind of limitation, but theoretically we could go to any number of tokens, and then you can decide, let's say you want to have like 25% BAT, 25% 0x, and 50% DAI, because that's your portfolio. And then once you create a Balancer pool, or you put that liquidity in an existing Balancer pool, then you start earning revenues from people that trade within your pool. So any pools that where people trade with it, they charge a fee, and that's also something interesting compared to Uniswap. The fee is customizable, so any pool creator can choose whatever fee they want to charge. So if they want to charge 5%, that's actually an interesting idea to rebalance their portfolio, because it's kind of the fee is more or less what the portfolio prices can, what the price of each token can vary before someone arbitrages and rebalances that pool. So yeah, so Balancer is kind of a liquidity provider, because people who create pools and add liquidity to pools then contribute to this huge pile of tokens that's Balancer protocol. And anyone that wants to trade tokens can kind of tap on that liquidity. And that's where we have the smart order router, which is, and first, why do we need a smart order router? Because unlike Uniswap, anyone can create any number of pools with like pairs that are already in order pools. So let's say Alessio created a pool that's 0x BAT and DAI. I created one that's 0x BAT and ETH. If someone wants to trade 0x and BAT, they can kind of split their trade between our two pools, right? If that makes sense. So that's kind of the smart order router that we have that gets the optimal return for any trade by using all the pools with that pair that I want to trade in the Balancer ecosystem. Are there any questions already? Let me take a look. Or Alessio, do you have any questions?
I think so far so good. There was some other question, like I will eventually hijack the conversation if I see any question coming into chat. Anyone feel free to raise your hand or basically like drop a question and address those.
Cool. I just saw Jesus'
Yes.
question.
how
So how
is
is the price calculation?
Yeah.
So so it's very similar to Uniswap, but it's a bit more complex. So Uniswap is actually like a Balancer pool with two tokens only in 50-50 weights. So the price calculation for Uniswap is just the ratio of the balances. The more balance you have, the cheaper that asset is. And by having that rule, what you have is that the value that's in each of the two assets is always half of the value of the pool in dollars. So if you go to Etherscan and you click on any of the Uniswap pools, you're going to see that there is, I don't know, $1,000 worth of ETH and $1,000 worth of tokens. So Uniswap is kind of a rebalancing for a pool that's 50-50. So what Balancer does is it takes into account the weight of each of the tokens. So actually the price of two tokens, one relative to the other, is the ratio of the normalized balances. What's the normalized balance? It's the balance divided by the weight. So if that makes sense. It's very similar to Uniswap, but taking the
included.
no
I think
Oracle,
that's
no external.
I think we want to make that clear for everyone. There are no oracles involved in this system, which is great. This is like an AMM system, very similarly to the way Uniswap have been pioneering this idea to some degree. Miguel is asking, would Balancer support token set? I think the answer is yes, but like, go ahead.
Yeah, Alessio, you're right. So any ERC20 token can be used in a Balancer pool. We're totally agnostic, permissionless. There's no admin key, so we can't pause any pools created with the Balancer factory. We can, of course, seize any funds. We can do anything basically. So whenever we launch Balancer V2, which we're already working on, people will have to migrate kind of to the new version, just like what's happening with Uniswap V2. So Uniswap doesn't have an admin key. We don't have either. I see that Miguel Severa asked, Daryl Wall, are the pricings allocations or percentages allocations decided by the oracles or liquidity? So I think that's answered already, right? So the price depends only on internal variables of the pool, which are the weight and the balance of each of the tokens. Just to confirm,
so
prices are a ratio of normalized balances. That's correct. And normalized balance is the balance, number of tokens, divided by the weight. Yeah.
So I think it's pretty exciting to know that you guys are already working about Balancer V2, and we're definitely, like, as you know, I've been looking for that, like, and for some specific feature. We can talk about that just later. I recall there was a very interesting question on Twitter some time ago. It was Alpha Block asking, it looks like, if moving your portfolio into Balancer, it's kind of a no-brainer. So where is the catch? So is that something that you want to address? Like, would you like to talk a little bit if there are any risk involved and what are those?
For sure. Yeah, there is no such thing as a free lunch, right? So I think I'll answer that on Twitter as well, but I wanted to answer here first. So there is risk, and there is the same risk as there is on Uniswap. Whenever you invest liquidity on Uniswap, you're market making. So there is something called impermanent loss. Let's say you started, you invested liquidity in a pool when it was like 2 tokens 1-to-1. If the prices go like 1-to-1, 1.5, 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, all what you did as like a market maker, an AMM, you sold that asset that went up in price all the way until it got to 4, say. So if it stays there at 4, if you compare the value in dollars or in whatever numeraire you have, if you compare the value of the tokens, if you had held the tokens compared to putting them on Uniswap or on Balancer or any pool, AMM pool like Balancer or Uniswap, you're gonna have less money with Balancer and Uniswap. Why? Because if you just multiply the prices, now the price is 4, but you started selling that token that's now worth 4. You started selling it at 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 until 4, right? So you sold it for a lot cheaper than it's worth now. Of course, that's impermanent because as soon as the prices go back to 1-to-1 or they go back to a similar ratio as when you provided liquidity, then actually you have exactly the same amount of tokens plus all the trading fees. So there is no free lunch because there is risk of impermanent loss. But if the ratios of the prices of the tokens in your pool do not deviate or diverge by too much, then you have you have like a profit. So that's kind of the calculation you have to do of the risk. And yeah, also the pools that are uneven. So Uniswap pools are always 50-50. Balancer pools can be anything you like. If you're like you want to be more exposed to one asset, you can just create a pool with 80% of that asset and 20% of the any other asset that you want to trade or have in a pool. And then if that asset that has 80% of your weight in the pool goes up, you're going to be almost as well off as you were if you held those that token alone, if that makes sense. So the more you have exposure to one token, the more you benefit from it increasing in value, and the more you lose if it goes down as well. Does that make sense, Alessio?
It does make sense to me very much. By the way, guys, if you are not familiar with the concept of the impermanent loss, we've been also kind of explaining that through the BTC plus forum post. I want to remind everyone, like, you can join the conversation at forum.piedao.org, but I will point you out to this article from PieDAO. He has been explaining in a very thoughtful way what impermanent loss, and you can also find it, if I recall correctly, into the documentation of the Balancer ecosystem, just for transparency. So, you know, dive into that. I think Fernando did a great job explaining that. But yeah, you can use that as a reference. I think we had a couple of more questions.
Yeah, I can answer. I can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can answer as many as you want, Alessio, but I know you have limited time, so let me know when we have to move on, or you have to move on.
Sure,
to the other
I will
topics.
go like for 5 more minutes. Like, I also would really like to hear a little bit more about the plans for Balancer B2, and so
Yeah.
that if that's something that you want to disclose, like what is like your future plans regarding the Balancer ecosystem. I know you guys have been working very hard on the beta, and now that is out. That's great. You know what comes next. I think it will be very exciting to know.
Sure.
Let's take this question from Jesus and Ivan, and then let's move forward.
Gio. Okay, so let's. So Jesus asks how it plays the different commissions of the different pools. As I understand it, prioritizes pools. Then waits. So if one pool has more commission on trade, and how it impacts in a pool. So the fee that a pool trades will impact on how good a price the pool offers. So if it has like a fee of 10%, then probably the price is going to be very bad, because yeah, if the balance of the tokens is more or less aligned with the market, so the price to buy will be 10% worse than you could find elsewhere, and the price to sell will be 10% worse as well. So when you have like a huge fee, the SOR, the smart order router, will not choose that pool because it doesn't return you any good prices, right? And that answers kind of, it's a segue to answer the trade-offs of having high fees or not. So if you have high fees, what happens is that your pool is not going to be traded against very often. It will just sit there, no one trading with it because the prices are very bad. But slowly as prices change, so let's say you start with a price exactly equal to the market. So to sell is 10% more expensive, and to buy is, or to sell it's like there's 10% a worse price for selling and 10% a worse price for buying. But when prices in the market start to go down, let's say at some point it will make sense for someone to buy from that pool, from that balancer pool. So then what you have in that pool with a lot of fees is that the pool doesn't suffer that much impermanent loss because you hold a lot your tokens until that percentage is kind of, the prices change more than the fee, and then people will start trading with that pool. So actually what you do, you can think of that as kind of a strategy on a set protocol. You buy when it went a lot down, and then when it goes up by a lot again, you sell. So it's kind of, the fee gives you that leeway, that margin of prices fluctuating before your pool starts selling and buying. The bad part, so the downside is that people who are just trading around the price that's stable will never use their pool, right? So they will always go for pools that have a very small fee, because with a pool that has a 0.1% fee, for example, it will be good to buy and sell even if the price stays the same. So your pool will have a lot more trades, so it will generate more trading fees, will be more profitable, right? So there's like different trade-offs that have to be analyzed here.
Yeah, that is correct. And then I think that's also the part of the reason why we are going for a 0.2 fees, which I think it's right now probably the lower fees in the balancer ecosystem as far as I stand. That's something that we're going to speak a little bit more, and that's part of the reason why. So we want to basically incentivize people to trade within the pool. As you guys might know, BTC++ is really looking forward to deploy the first BTC pool, which covers pretty much every representation of Bitcoin into the Ethereum network. Actually, yeah, that's something exciting that we're going to show just later. Jesus says, thank you, great. So we're going to talk about BTC++ in a moment. I'm going to take this last question and then I'm going to ask Fernando to tell us a little bit about Balancer V2 and what might be the ETA. The last question is, so if you want to stay in same quantity of tokens but contribute with liquidity on Balancer, I should make two pools with opposite weights but same token. Example 70% synthetic, 30%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the nice thing about having that is that you attract people who are bullish on SNX. They have a lot more value in their portfolio in SNX than ETH, so they add to your token, and the other way around as well. So some people have a lot of ETH, they're kind of bullish on ETH, but they also have some SNX, so they will go for the pool that's 70% ETH, 30% SNX. So both those different like patterns or audiences, those are different audiences, they will both contribute to your liquidity in those two pools, which is quite interesting. Yeah. Then so yeah, thanks a lot for your questions. Yeah. V2.
About what's next?
So we can
we're very excited to hear more about it.
Yeah. So the idea of V2 is to improve a lot the gas costs. We are not going to have a new contract. So all those things are kind of ideas. So nothing kind of for sure, but I'm going to tell you what we're kind of inclined to do. So lots of optimizations, maybe some more support for different ERC20 like 1155 and 20 will of course stay. And we want to have one big contract that has all the assets in it, so that you don't need to be sending ERC20s from one pool to the other. If you're doing like a batch trade or you're doing arbitrage, it sits all in the same contract, so you save a lot in gas. Kind of similar to how Maker makes it with CDPs. They're all like all the ETH, the collateral sits in the same place, or for vaults now. And then there's like in this big contract, there's like a mapping that says this address has that pool, and then that pool has that balance. So that's kind of the direction we're going. There's of course a lot other exciting things that we're kind of still discussing, but we'll be talking about that soon in the future. That ETA is probably like first half of next year. There's a lot of things we want to build. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic.
Thanks guys for your questions.
Absolutely. So
if you want to know
guys,
more about the project, yeah, just join our Discord channel. You'll be very welcome.
Absolutely,
there.
guys, go check it out. Like you can go to balancer.exchange to start trading within it. It's very exciting software. Obviously, this is all new, so like be careful. That's something that we try to say all the time. But I think this is extremely exciting, and then we're gonna see this really take an important role into DeFi. That's part of the bet that we're making ourselves. Join their Discord. Like you can also tag Fernando on the PieDAO Discord or tag the Balancer team as a whole at Balancer to make direct questions.
Thank you so much, Alessio.
Stopping by and introduce Balancer again. Right, guys. So this great presentation, I'm gonna speak a little bit about the progress that we have been doing on BTC++. So if you guys recall, like the previous community call, what BTC++ at the very gist, it's a weighted allocation between all the different representation of Bitcoin on the Ethereum network. And the reason why we're doing that is very simple. Well, each one of these projects has obviously their own trade-off in terms of security. And then, we feel like even assuming all those assumptions are correct in terms of economic incentives, in terms of security, bugs can be in the system. So holding those tokens in isolation might be risky. Now, the way we are, I'm gonna open the chat over here. The way we are thinking about that is actually by using a Balancer smart pool. So if you guys have been around for the previous community call, Mick has been talking a lot about the underlying technology, storage pattern. Now we are developing the smart contract, but now we actually go a little bit further. As you might have seen, we actually end up deploying BTC++, and that's something that we are gonna show shortly after. But I also wanna go first a little bit into the details of what the smart pool in PieDAO introduced to the standard Balancer system. Fernando, I don't recall if you mentioned that, but if you guys don't know, there are basically separation of concept in terms within Balancer. You can have finalized pool or managed pool. The difference with finalized pool is that weights cannot change, like you cannot intervene anymore once the pool is gets finalized. Instead, we have a little bit more flexibility in the managed pool. Now, we went through the last community call why we're going for a managed pool. There are a number of different reasons, and these are some of the benefits that comes out of that implementation. So first of all, we have a UX feature. So Balancer pools normally, correct me if I'm wrong, like a very standard name, which is BTP or BTP pool or something, which is very similar to the Uniswap pool.
Yeah.
Correct. So we really felt that we had to improve on that and then add a custom ticker name. And the reason is very simple. We want BTC Plus to be usable as a medium of exchange. We want to be easily fundable. We want to, be used in DeFi. We felt that, these kind of pools can be a great source of collateral. They can serve many different purposes. Besides that, as we touched in the previous community call, we also have been diving a little bit deeper into some of the, very edge case scenario that might happen within one of these pools. So as you guys know, especially for Bitcoin, all this technology is extremely new. So stuff like PBitcoin, TBTC is about to come. By the way, like I hear it's going to be on mainnet the 27th of April. If someone correct me if I'm wrong, I can see the chat. Yeah, so we're actually going to try, bye Luke. We're actually going to try to have Matt or someone from the TBTC team to join our community to explain a little bit more about TBTC. Well, basically, the project are extremely new. Even if they are very exciting, there is a risk that one of the underlying assets within the pool might fail. Now, in the context of a finalized pool, that will introduce a very concerning dynamic, where basically everybody can swap the token, which will become for some reason insolvent. For those reasons, we are using as PieDAO basically a social layer on top of it. Like we've been seeing in DeFi a number of cases where human intervention is really needed, like to stop funky stuff happening, and that's what the circuit breaker system introduces. Through PieDAO, which basically acts as a monitoring tool, we can post trading anytime we feel one of the underlying asset might be a risk. If you recall, like the very first community call, we have been talking also about automated algorithmic tool such as Gauntlet network to actually detect funky stuff happening. And that's something that we maybe will be exploring a little more. We're also UI, open source UI with the pools, and that's something that I'm going to show shortly. For the time being, there is no UI available into the Balancer ecosystem for managed pool. So we actually built one that I'm going to show in a little bit. And then part of the social layer contract that we are working on is also much the vetting of all these new assets come to play. As new player like TBTC and REMBTC will be ready to be launched on mainnet. My internet is lagging. Sorry about that, guys. Not surprising. I hope it's fine now. On that note, did you guys lost any specific part? Should I repeat anything?
You were pretty good.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Right. So in that regard, part of the social contract that we are covering as a DAO is to do pretty much the vetting of each one of the new assets regarding TBTC and REMBTC, like they're coming into mainnet very soon. So as we discussed briefly before, PieDAO is introducing the first BTC pool. We are expecting to launch that by the 10th to the public, and we are introducing a very low swap fee, which is 0.2, which is completely shared to the liquidity providers at this point, which means as a liquidity provider, you can get paid for your idle tokens. The smart contracts are open source. Everybody can go and look into it. We already had an auditing intervention before, so we've been through an auditing and we're going to make a second one very shortly. You can follow that discussion again on forum.piedao.org. Feel free to join the conversation. But now let's actually see how this looks like. By idle token, I mean if you have some tokens which you are not using, so they are pretty much sitting in your wallet, they are better off being into the BTC++ pool, and then so they can get some yield for the trading. And I also remind that one of the things that we are aiming with this pool is to become the biggest BTC pool in the entire Balancer ecosystem. There are no BTC pools at this point, and then if that is the case, a lot of these trades will be routed through the BTC++ pool from the smart routing system in Balancer.
That's exciting.
So, yeah. I surely hope so. And now, without any further ado, let's show a little bit where we at. So this is a very alpha beta interface. Eventually, we're gonna get this sorted out in more detail by the launch, but we wanted to show it to show the improvements in the past. Sorry, I'm gonna take this question. Can we get consensus that those of us that are showing up and getting understanding can actually plus? I like some skin in the game. So you can actually mint BTC++. That's the way it works. And that's what I'm gonna explain right now. So BTC++, it's a token which is composed in equal weights of these 4 representation of Bitcoin into the Ethereum network. So as for now, it's IMBTC, PBTC, SBTC, and WBTC. They are all at equal weight. At this point, we might change that in the future as we have the power to do so through governance. There is a very big warning over here saying it's a beta product. it's not been audited formally, like there is no report you can look at. You should be very careful. DeFi products are risky, guys. Remember that. So you should use at your own risk. That being said, let's go ahead and mint some BTC++. This is a very simple interface. By the way, while we wait now for the transaction to mine, I really want to take a moment to thank the core dev team. Like, they've been working tirelessly on this release, like really pulling this together like at record time. It's extremely exciting. Thank you very much, guys, for your hard work. Looks like we already had that. It's been a pretty fast transaction. And there you go. So we just minted. We have one block confirmation. It's been extremely fast. As you might imagine, we didn't see any of the approval requests. But if you're gonna do that for the very first time, you will go through the 4 approvals. We are also working on automations to make sure that you can go like from one single token to another, and even from just if. And yeah, like that's been pretty sweet, like very easy to do. We have been minting 0.007327 PieDAO BTC. That's pretty exciting. Now you get exposure of all the 4 assets within it, within the pool. And obviously each one of the token holder is gonna take some yield by providing it to it. Love the toggle. Can I suggest having a USD value and option to manually enter the amount of BTC I would like to mint? Absolutely. Like, this is actually some feedback that I'm very much. So BTC is like a basket of BTC. Yeah, Jordi, that is correct. BTC, it's a basket of Bitcoin, not necessarily. There are 3 tokens which are pegged one-to-one. This is the case of WBTC, PBTC, and IMBTC. And SBTC is the only synthetic token out there. Thank you very much, Daryl, for your suggestion. We're gonna definitely take that into consideration. If you want to drop it in the sign channel into the Discord, that would be very much appreciated. Jesus is asking, did you say that it's possible to use ETH to add liquidity? It will be actually very soon. So if you guys want to go from actual Bitcoin, we can facilitate that process. Feel free to ask into the Discord channel. Otherwise, you can potentially go from any other token. Right now, you need to do a number of steps to do that. So we are gonna facilitate that through a single transaction, going through ETH and exiting to ETH very soon. So, guys, I hope you like this. Like, the UI will get ready very soon for the official launch. And I'm gonna take some question right now. What is USD++? So USDC++, it's another allocation that we are working on, which is it's instead like a diversified basket of different stablecoin. You can actually see the proposal somewhere, I think, in the forum, again, forum.piedao.org. And then once we have that, this will be extremely exciting to see hybrid pools, which are basically, I don't know, 50-50 with ETH or 50-50 with Bitcoin. So you can actually trade Bitcoin, BTC++ with USD++. And we're actually thinking in ways to connect the pools so that fees don't compound. That will basically create a pyramid of liquidity within the PieDAO ecosystem, because people running into PieDAO and switching between PieDAOs, new pies, basically compounded fees. Thank you very much, Mick, for sharing the smart contract. That's very exciting. Thoughts on TBTC? We think TBTC is a very exciting project. We have been following it for a while. Actually, I think some of us in this call has some friends working on that. So I'm doing my best to get someone from the TBTC team to come into either the next or in 2 weeks through the community call. I will again do my best to find them. I'm pretty bullish on the fact that there will be someone. So you can ask all the questions that you want. But eventually, when they are gonna come out, the thing will happen through the forum. You can find always the discussion going on over here. By the way, guys, I wanted to say, if you want to signal your support for BTC++, Nicola, which has been presenting last week, has made some great threaders. You can find it in full resolution over here. I'm gonna link this into the chat right now. You know, feel free to use it. They are beautifully designed, as always. And now, before we move forward to Mick's presentation on actually BTC plus your own smart contract, how to use that liquidity, I also want to introduce some of the improvements that we want to make to this pool technology and some of the ideas. Important, you know, your support is extremely important for us. It enables for these things to happen. So there are a number of ideas and features that they are not prioritized just yet, but we are looking to optimize the smart pool gas cost. It's not extremely expensive, but like we can do better than that. We also want to enable joining and exiting the pool with a single asset. That means that you could go from WBTC to BTC++ directly without providing all the different underlying assets. We have been having some thoughts into the forum about insurance. Someone has been asking about insurance. We actually have some ideas. One which I find very interesting. Fernando, if you want to look into that into the forum post, it's a full native balancer-based insurance. We're maybe going to talk about that in the future. And then integration into DEX aggregators, AUM fees, automatic circuit breaker through predictive models and all this kind of stuff, or even encoded into the smart contract, automatic gradual weights adjustment. We actually, that's something that we have been looking as a team, as a development team, is really how much can we push having control of the weights through the DAO, this technology to make custom curves, to make very specific use case. It's very exciting, guys. It's very, very exciting. So without any further ado, now I'm gonna leave the word and the mic to Mick, leave the mic to Mick, which is gonna explain us how to use the BTC pools into your own smart contract.
Yeah, good day. My screen is visible, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is. If you want to zoom a little bit, I think that
Oh, yeah,
would
yeah.
be great.
Come on. This. Is better? That's good, right?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So basically, what we've done, we've built a smart pool around the balancer pool, and we had an awesome example from Balancer itself, because they were also working on this managed pool. So we basically inherited the interface and some of the code. So if you want to integrate it into your own dApp, or maybe you are a wallet developer, or you make awesome front ends, then there's for adding and removing liquidity, there are two very simple functions, which is join pool and then the amount of liquidity shares you want to mint. Before you do that, you need to approve the underlying tokens. More about those in a bit. Or if you want to exit the pool and receive the underlying assets back and do something with them, or just receive them in your wallet, you call the exit pool function on the BTC++ token. Even if you want to get the underlying assets, I'm just going over the basic functionality we exposed for integrators. And if you want to get the underlying tokens, for instance, for BTC++, there are four variants of Bitcoin in there. You can call get tokens, which returns you the underlying assets, or you can calculate how much of each underlying asset you actually need to mint a certain amount. And the smart pools are protocol agnostic. It's now for only Balancer at the moment. But we have some balancer specific functions, like if you want to get the underlying balancer pool, you will call get pool. If you want to get the fee, you can call get swap fee. Or if you want to know if we have swapping enabled at that moment, you can call this function. And we also have, in case for security reasons, we have some pools are capped. So we implemented this cap, and if you want to know what the cap is, so you don't need more than the cap and the transaction reverts, you can get the cap like this. And if you want to see the deployed contract of BTC++, it's still being tested, so don't use it with too much money just yet. You can view it here and look at the code and basically call it if you like. So that's it. I don't know if there are any questions about how to integrate it. It's just a quick overview of which functionality is available to the general public. There's some more management functions in there, but those are only accessible by whitelisted addresses, mainly the DAO.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mick, for presenting this. I think we have no questions for. Like, if you do, please feel free to raise your hand or pop your question into the chat. Basically, the point I want to make about this is really, it's extremely simple. I understand we might not have many Solidity developers right now. Like, it's extremely simple to use the BTC++ pool and get BTC liquidity from another smart contract. We're actually very excited to see people building on that eventually soon. If you have any further question about development, please feel free to ask them. We have a development channel into our Discord. Everybody can ask specific questions, so just feel free to jump into that. Anything else would you like to share, Mick?
Maybe it's important to say that the smart pools themselves are tokenized, like they are ERC20 compatible. I did not mention it, but they actually are. So you have
absolutely.
These functions plus all ERC20 functionality. You can even put pools in pools and list them on Uniswap or.
Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. And I think it's going to be extremely exciting to see what we call core pieces of these allocations, such as BTC++, and then eventually when we're going to have USD++, Yield++, tons of exciting projects coming very soon, being combined together in sophisticated pools. That's really what we feel is going to fulfill the mandate and the dream of PieDAO to really end up having a sophisticated tokenized portfolio, very complex index in the ecosystem, which are completely tokenized and that you can buy, in a decentralized way 24/7 with no minimum. I think that's really what DeFi brings to the table, and that's extremely exciting. So thank you very much, Mick, for your presentation. Feel free to share the link into the chat for everybody to have a look. And before we close this call, I kind of wanted to give a couple of operational announcements. I think we might have questions over here. Yeah, it's Mick sharing the URL. Great. So guys, as always, like, we are a very open community, like everybody who is in our Discord channel knows that, but we're actually gonna call, we have a call for the community members over here. We want to receive some help for you guys. You might have seen this discussion before, but for a variety of different reasons, we feel there is the core team who feels that we should really focus on product development. So basically voting in of new DAO token request will be, there was did I miss a question? Would love to know the downside. Sorry, I missed one question. Would love to know the downside risk more. One thing to build a mint, but what are the inherent risk? I think the biggest risk is, of course, smart contract risk. As I was mentioning before, DeFi is entirely new as a concept. We've been seeing very exciting stuff coming into place, but smart contract, software is risky by its own. Obviously, no pain, no gain. So that's something that we all understand over here. That for a fact that Balancer has been audited by one of the best firm in the bits, which is Trail of Bits. Those audits report are public. So you can very well go look into that. And we are taking those measures as well, going through the audits actually for the second time. And I'm getting questions privately, so like that. So yeah, like obviously, like this blockchain thing, and it's still risky, like it's still new. You should not use if you don't understand your own risk. That's a discussion that we might explore a little bit more into the Discord forum. Otherwise, I would point you out to the very first community call, because we had a very fantastic presentation from the DeFi Score risk manager guy himself, who has been talking about the risk of underlying smart contracts within the system. Could a set or a DeFi sub be incorporated into a diversified BTC pool? Story about PMs. Yeah, that can be done, very much so. Actually, like if you guys want to have a look at that, there is a channel here called PIP WIP with a number of different ideas, including top 5 Uniswap performing liquidity pool. So join the conversation in that regard. That's something that we are definitely looking into. That could be done with apps as well. So before we wrap this up, I wanted to say that core developers are not gonna vote in any other DAO request. That being said, the community is open and everybody should do whatever they feel like. But this means if you want to join the DAO, you probably hurry up. Like when that date coincides with the launch of BTC++ to the public. And then after that, core developers will be focusing on growth and will be focusing on traction of that product, while as well launching a variety of other things. Like, so stay tuned, because a number of other cool stuff is happening, and a number of new pies are coming to mainnet soon. On that regard, as I was saying, yes, thank you, Dan, for sharing the Discord. You can find us almost 24/7 over there. We want to open a call to the community. As you guys might know, we have a Telegram group as well. Like most of our community is very well rooted into Discord, but we feel like if someone wants to, make a step forward and basically bridge the gap between the discussion happening on Discord and Telegram, please reach out, come to the Discord channel. In that step, we are very happy to have someone from the community taking that over. Besides, we are asking you guys to, help us with PR. Like DeFi is an extremely dynamic space. You can go to your favorite newsletter, Bankless, Defiant, our network, whatever there is. Okay, you can talk about BTC++, ask him to cover it. Launch is supposed to be April the 10th. I want to remind it. So, ping those things, ping those people on Twitter, like tweet at them, tweet about BTC++, use the Twitter header. That's like, how do we grow? And then obviously, if you want to provide liquidity, and if you understand the risk of doing that, you can very well do that. We can actually work together to make BTC++ the largest Bitcoin pool on the Balancer ecosystem. Another alternative, if you're more familiar with Uniswap, is to mint some and maybe open a Uniswap market. And then, some people might spend enough time arbitraging between the two of them, and then we're going to see a lot of different exciting opportunities. So that being said, guys, that's all I got for today. Thank you everyone for joining. As always, feel free to reach out anytime into our Discord channel. If there is any other specific question, we're gonna take it now. Otherwise, we are very much on time today to close for within an hour. Yeah, correct. In theory, you could even hedge your BTC++ position on synthetics using iBTC. That is correct. So I'm going to take the chance to say thank you again to Fernando for joining us today. I know he has been extremely busy launching Balancer to the public. So thank you very much. Again, you can go check their website, balancer.exchange. Add them if you have a specific question into our own Discord. Join their Discord. Join the community any way you can. And thank you very much, Fernando, again.
Thanks, Alessio.
Talk soon.
Thanks. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys, to everyone for joining. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, guys, for being here. We're gonna talk again next week. Let us know if these times worked well for you. I know people in Japan were looking for joining this call and they couldn't, so I'm gonna share the recorded video with them. That being said, stay safe. I think we are all requested though. Would you still process those? We are going all the requests will be processed until the 10th by the and then left to the community. So there are still a few people. Thanks. Caio Vicentino say I can't hear. Maybe check your volume. I think is audio fine, guys?
Yep,
Yeah, it's
audio's
fine.
all right. And we'll be posting up the video very shortly. So if you couldn't hear us or still can't hear me saying this to you right now, hopefully you'll hear it in the recording that we'll post in about an hour.
So community, again, thank you very much. Like I'm gonna head out, feel free to hang out for a couple of more minutes if you like. Otherwise, you'll find me on Twitter at Alexintosh, and then you can tweet at PieDAO_DeFi. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for tomorrow. We're gonna say who wins this week meme contest. Thank you, everyone. Ciao.
Bye bye.